Federal prosecutors right now are working hard to put together their criminal indictment against Donald Trump. And it might be more reasonable to assume that they're going to go with this. There's any number of hundreds of charges they could bring. But it seems like the most simple one would be the theft of classified documents and the refusal to return them. But looks like they might well instead be going for the Stormy Daniels hush money, simply because the case has already been proved, and Cohen has already gone to prison for it. And there's not a whole lot of work to be done. It's simple to understand that it's illegal to take campaign funds and use them for illegal means, and then to lie about it. What do they say? The big crime is always in the cover-up. So they may well be going in that direction. But something that I've noticed, speaking particularly of the theft of the classified documents, is just a couple of things. There's comparison and contrast, and mostly it's contrast between Biden and Trump. And that is that it makes sense that Biden, and really Pence as well, took their job as vice presidents seriously when they were vice president. That is, can you imagine the amount of papers that went by on their desks that they actually read because they cared about what went on for the benefit and for the weal of the people who live in this country? I can very much see both Pence and Biden working hard and going over these papers and thinking through what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Turkey, what's going on in Iraq or Iran, and trying to understand domestic terrorism and the threat to the nation, and reading these classified documents. It is well documented that Trump didn't care about any of this. People would come in and try to give him a security briefing. He'd be on his phone on TikTok or Twitter, and he was busy twitting along, being a twit, finding out if anybody said anything good about him or bad about him, these papers did not matter to him. And so I can understand papers ending up with Pence and Biden after their presidency, after the hundreds of thousands of papers that went through their hands, that some of them would just be messed up and left behind. For Trump, it's a different thing. He never read anything and never wrote anything. If he ever gave a speech that made halfway sense, he was reading it haltingly off a teleprompter, making sure that none of the words were over 2 syllables. And there was no reason. There was no record of him ever caring about any classified documents. When he left the White House with those classified documents, it seems clear to me that the reason that there were boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of classified documents is because he thought he might be able to use them someday. Maybe to sell them, maybe to blackmail his country, maybe to threaten someone or threaten the entire country, saying, if you don't let me back in the presidency, you know what I'll do, and all these papers are going to end up with my friend Putin, and boy, you don't want that to happen, so you better let me be president again. There's a reason he wanted them, and wanted many, many boxes of them as opposed to a sheet here and there. And the reason was not to do any good. The reason was to have them for his own benefit. But the other contrast that seems very, very clear to me, I used to be a roofer. 5 years, commercial roofing, flat top, EPDM, TPO, EPD, ethylene propylene diinterpolymer membrane, and thermoplastic polyolefin, TPO. EPDM is rubber and TPO is thermoplastic. Yes. So anyway, did a lot of work up on a roof, dangerous, filthy, hot work. But if you get up on a roof early in the morning when it's still cool, where you get some work done, it can be very beautiful. Be that as it may, I worked for a company called Isaac Specialty Roofing out of Berea, Kentucky. And I'll tell you what impressed me about that company. If you do a large roofing job, putting down or repairing a large elementary school roof, or putting down or repairing a large, Myers, my father-in-law used to call it Myers Shifty Takers, Myers Thrifty Acres roof. When you were done, it is not a question of will there be any problems. It's nice if there were not any problems at all, but in a very large TPO roof, there's a good chance that after you're done, there's going to be problems of some sort somewhere. The rain won't shed the way you would want it to. There's a lack of ventilation somewhere. There's a leak somewhere. That's not the main question. The main question on a large commercial roofing job, not residential, but a large commercial roofing job, the main question is, when those problems come up, is the company going to be there fast to correct the problem? And that is something I always was impressed with Isaac Specialty Roofing. I hope they're still in business, out of Berea, Kentucky. They were ready to get there and to take care of any problems that were under any sort of warranty, or there can be all kinds of difficulties or problems. A high wind can come up and some of the materials can blow off the roof. Well, hustle on out there quickly and do all the pickup and make sure everything looks just as beautiful as it can be. And that is what I see as the difference between the classified documents and between Biden and Trump. If a person is going to be vice president or president, you would hope that they would have 100,000, 200,000, a few million classified documents passed through their hands. Again, this didn't happen with Trump because he didn't read and he didn't write. But whether he can is another thing. But he didn't in the presidency. His instructions were verbal, and the only thing he heard is when someone said something to him, or he would hear it on Fox News. Or Putin would tell him. Whoever he viewed to be his friend, those are the people to whom he listened. That's the information that caught his ear. There's going to be classified documents is one thing, and the amount is incomparable between the two. But that's one thing, that there would be them. The question is, what happens when those classified documents are brought to the attention? When the problem is brought to the attention, that is where the crimes come in. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up. In Trump's case, I don't have any classified Oh no, I'm not gonna. You think I should? I'm not gonna give back with the things I've stolen and purposefully stolen out of the White House. The things that are not mine, that I stole, I'm not giving them back. There might be 50 boxes of them. I'm not going to return them. And the archives keep on telling him you have to return them. He won't listen. They take legal steps, finally take them perforce away from him. And he screams, "What are you doing taking away the things I've stolen? You can't take away. It's terrible that you're taking away the things I've stolen." This is all illegal. of course. The but the contrast with Biden finding 40 or 50 pages, I'm not even sure is that much, of classified documents, and him saying, please, please come and search my home. Come and search over here. I want to return these. Look what we found. And in a matter of hours, he has the National Archives over saying, here, having his attorneys hand over those documents. The question is not, will these classified documents exist? And even though, as I say, the comparison is huge between the number that Trump stole and the number that Biden and Pence had across their desks that were left behind. It's not the comparison, it's the contrast of reaction between the two of them that makes it criminal for Trump and makes it a point of virtue for Biden.